in the yard, might need a guard. Every loss, taking to heart. Me first, that cannot be. Must be these underdog episodes, see? Feeling much better, so suddenly. Under the Monica G. Crafted at night while all of them sleep. I won't look a fool, taking this tool. Defeating the opposition around me. No, I'm not sorry. Yes, I'm taking this knowledge imparted. Just barking no harm, don't be startled. Yes, I'm taking the title, and it's so vital. Thanks for the ride, I'll never be idle. Turn up the dial, it's about to get wild. And the points gon' pile up.
Dynasty underdog bite down, up at the day and the night. Now, easy as flying a kite. Now, come take a look at it right now. Dynasty underdog bite down, up at the day and the night. Now, easy as flying a kite. Now, come take a look at it right now.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 175 of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Uriah Dawkins. Joining me tonight, Billy Beeman. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Getting ready for this Thursday night football game. Getting ready for my
176.
176. Get it right. Ready for my playoff dreams to be absolutely crushed this weekend. So, per usual. I mean, this year's has been absolutely brutal. It cannot end in any other fashion than brutal, right?
Yeah. I don't want to wish life away, but I'm kind of ready for the off season. But I still, I got some teams out there still holding on, but it's all hope at this point in time. It's all hope and a prayer. So we'll see.
I'm just managing expectations, but Joe's right. It is absolutely tilt season. 100%.
You advance in one league and you're like, all right, I didn't know I'd make it that far. And then you lose Jamar Chase or something. And it's like, all right, so we'll talk about it here shortly, but Jonathan Taylor might be coming back. Well, the leagues where I had Jonathan Taylor, I'm out. It doesn't do me any good anymore. It's been fun. Air quotes.
Yeah. And it's like, can you even trust? I mean, we'll talk about JT in a minute here, but yeah, you don't even know what to do this week. The start sit decisions this year have been tough, but it really feels like week 16, they might be the toughest.
Let's get into it. So, news and nonsense. CJ Stroud is going to be out this week. He had a concussion. He was out last week. There's not a whole lot to say about it, but I think it's good looking at D'Amico Ryans as a leader and as a head coach there, not risking his franchise quarterback. CJ Stroud has been lights out as a rookie this year, and it's smart ball in my opinion. Just smart to keep the kid healthy. So you will be without him again this week. Obviously, I think Dell is on IR, and Nico Collins, I think, has a chance to play, but I mean, I'm staying away from all that to begin with. So,
with who? Case Keenum? Yeah. Talk about tough start sit decisions. Yeah. Nico Collins is going to be a rough one this week for sure.
Next one, Jamar Chase. He bailed us out late in the game last week a little bit. Got a couple of points there, even though we've been Burrow-less for the last couple of weeks. But Jamar Chase is likely to miss a week or so, is what I saw, or so. I think he had a dislocated shoulder or something like that. Separated
shoulder, yeah. I'm so not pleased about this. I have, two teams that are still in it that lost Chase, and the matchups are close. So it's definitely disappointing. There's nothing you can do about it other than if you're a team that has Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and you can see an opportunity here to maybe get Chase plus, you can make that move kind of thing. There's I think some, slight opportunities here for specific situations. Something to think about. I've seen some Chase deals get done, and I've had some people try to snag Chase off me at a lower price.
Yeah. If you're still in it and you had Chase, it might be something you want to explore. But other than that, season's almost over. It's probably time to pack it in.
Yeah, I've been pretty hesitant to move off of Chase at this point, unless I know for and which is hard to say. For a fact that you're acquiring CeeDee Lamb. Maybe I'm if I'm going 1-to-1 on Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb, I'll do it. Outside of that, I'm probably just going to roll the dice and keep him.
I think that's a smart move. Sometimes shit happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, next one, Jonathan Taylor likely to be back this week. If you're still in the playoffs and you had a Jonathan Taylor team, hey, praise the Lord. But for me personally, the one team I have Jonathan Taylor on, I'm already out now, so it doesn't do me any good. But hey, welcome back. It'd be interesting to see at least what the usage there is with Sermon, Moss banged up, and JT back. So
Yeah, I mean, shout out to our Discord. I know they were talking a little bit about, when they first brought JT back from his ankle injury earlier this season, they brought him back pretty slow, right? They eased him back in.
they did, but also Moss was balling out. So, and I don't know if we're gonna have that situation.
What's wrong with this hat, bro?
Come on, man. Giddy up.
For those on the YouTube channel, just chopping it up with the comments. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor. I think I'm rolling him out there, man. Like we have Zach Moss coming in with a banged up shoulder, and I know Trey Sermon got some work. I think there, right? He's the other one that's rostered for the Colts. And he had a pretty good week last week, but I think with JT coming back, I think they're going to be looking to use him early and often with kind of how banged up the backfield is, and I don't think they want to lean on Trey Sermon if they don't have to. I'd be super. That's what they do, but I mean, to our listeners' credit, that has happened, so it could happen. Be wary of it, but I feel like you're going for upside at this point in the season, and you kind of got to roll JT out there. There's unlikely to be many better options on your bench or on your roster.
And just for the team-wise, the Colts are one of the hottest teams in the league. It doesn't really seem like it, but over like the last 6-7 weeks, like they have one of the best records. So they're still playing for something. So I don't think there's any reason for them to hold JT back, right? They need JT. So
they do. And to Joe's point here, being a thumb injury, probably not much to ease him into, right?
That's a good point. All right, last one. Trevor Lawrence, he's this came out recently, but he's likely out again this week with a concussion.
Yeah.
So I mean that sucks for Calvin Ridley and
par for the course this season, man. You're starting quarterbacks out. Hope you have.
If your favorite NFL team or your fantasy teams or have a starting quarterback that started week 1, like you're in a minority at this point. So it's been wild.
If you're not starting Joe Flacco in the semifinals, are you even living? Like, what are we doing? Come
on. Also, be more aggressive in waivers for these backup quarterbacks. That's one thing I absolutely have not done this year. And I probably should have, even if it's just for selling them off. But I wish I had like some AOC, some Browning, some Flacco, just because. And I don't have any because I'm like, I don't care about those guys. But in reality, you probably should.
I mean, I love that you mentioned that because it's literally something I had in my notes and I didn't really put on the show sheet or anything. And I don't even know if I saw it, but I remember putting it in my notes that, we need to prioritize the backup quarterbacks more going forward. And we're unlikely to see a season like this again where everybody goes down, right? But you just see how valuable they can be. And some of them are serviceable and they build up trade value. I mean, people are getting fourths, thirds for Joe Flacco and you could get more for Jake Browning. And those are valuable assets. So they're not something to scoff at on the waiver wire. I don't know how many CJ Beathard's I've seen who is now going to probably start Nick Mullins, how many of these just guys that you think are worthless. They seem to not be in super flex leagues, even if it's not to start them. We know that starting them is not a great option. And sometimes you have no choice with how bad it's been this year. And so they're valuable for that reason, but they are absolutely valuable as trade pieces for rebuilders, all that stuff. So definitely worth having.
All right. What did we learn? What did we learn and what stood out? So what are the chances that Drew Lock is a future Seattle quarterback? I felt weird writing it down.
Yeah, you should. I don't think they're very good. He was okay in that game. Like he managed it up until the point that he took them and drove them 95 yards down to score with JSN there. And an absolutely amazing catch by JSN, fingertip catch in the end zone. But Drew Lock has always been kind of a gunslinger. We've always seen moments from him, flashes from him. I don't think he's that good, and I don't think he can be that good on a consistent basis. I don't know why they wouldn't stick with Geno. I don't have his contract right up in front of me, but I do think he's under contract going into next year. I could be wrong.
He is, but I think he'd get out of him this year. So
Yeah, I don't know if, he's been banged up this year. I don't know if they have any reason to really get out of him. Like, they have him sign. I mean, also just looking at the dead cap, like they can't. I mean, they could potentially get out of him this year, but it's still $17 million dead cap. You'd think they're probably going to ride it out through at least 25 when they still have him on the roster. He's not a free agent until 26, but they have him on the roster. It's a pretty big cap hit in 25, but they can get out of him for $8 million then. So I'd bet that he's on the team starting next year just based on that $17 million cap hit.
Yeah.
And Drew Lock, I just don't think he's that good, but he's definitely a serviceable backup. I mean, I think this is like what you hope Tommy DeVito can turn into if you're like if you have him on your roster. I mean, you hope he can be better than that, obviously, but this is the kind of backup I think those guys turn into, and I think that's what he is. Maybe DeVito's better than him. I don't know.
They probably likely draft a quarterback, and then Gino's out there for most of the season, and then they move on.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan in Dynasty. I don't think.
Are we there?
Crazy.
Yeah, are we there yet? Because I mean, like I actually have KTC right up in front of me, so I can speak to those values if we want. Just kind of see where the running backs lie.
Your
so he's still running back one. So yeah, that boy is loud as hell. So we have Bijan Robinson running back 1, Christian McCaffrey running back 2, and then Jahmyr Gibbs running back 3. So it's not that crazy if you kind of project ahead into 2024, right? CMC's got to drop off of that, number 2 spot at some point here, and obviously he's still going to be, great, but that is going to dip at some point. So just speaking of, I mean, it's hard to even put Bijan in front of CMC right now with how the season has gone for Bijan, but. If Arthur Smith is gone, everybody wins. That's for sure.
That changes everything, right? So it depends on who the head coach there is. Like, just not using Bijan the way they should. I mean, he's fresh for next year. That's cool, but very underutilized. So, but yeah, having Gibbs over Bijan isn't like crazy to me. If you ranked Gibbs over Bijan, like I have nothing to say. I still personally think Bijan over Gibbs, but.
CMC is forever.
CMC's. Oh man, as a Cowboys fan, I'm hoping CMC's good for like another week or 2.
Yeah, right. It's brutal. This guy he's a machine. He's the Terminator. Really, it's unbelievable. It's crazy. He's great. You have to think that he's approaching that 26, or where is he? He's already 27. He's approaching that 28, 29 year old age, and once you get there, man, it's really hard to keep producing in that same way. So it's got to fall off eventually, but that's not even what we're talking about. It doesn't really matter. I think you could easily have Gibbs over Bijan, but if I can get plus on top of Gibbs or even plus on top of Bijan, I'd probably take it. I think that Bijan's likely going to be safe. I do think Arthur Smith is probably not long for the Falcons, so we'll probably get a better year out of him going forward here.
Is James Cook for real? I mean, we saw what he did last week to my Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to sound like fucking Skip Bayless here. My Dallas Cowboys.
My Dallas Cowboys.
He ain't a Cowboys fan. Let's put it. But
we're not in the same bucket. Got it.
No, not at all. I'm actually a Cowboys fan. But, we were without Hankins. He's one of our better run defenders up the middle. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't even that. I mean, he was going outside. We couldn't set the edge. We didn't tackle all that stuff. Is James Cook for real? I don't know. It's not a team that historically has used a running back a lot. They just happened to do it against Dallas this last week because there was nothing they could do to stop him. So why would you stop running James Cook? I think once James Cook and the Bills play a different team that could actually stop the run, things might look a little different. But James Cook has been on a pretty good tear for the last, 6-7 weeks. I traded for him. I don't know. I don't buy the real deals. What I mean is, like, does he have a future like RB1 value moving forward? And I don't know about that.
Yeah, is this sustainable? I think for the rest of the year, it's sustainable. I'm not sure this is a career-long trajectory for James Cook, but I do think that he's going to keep doing this for the rest of the year, just given kind of how the running back room is built out, how the wide receivers are performing. And since Joe Brady has took over, James Cook has been more of a focal point. So it seems like there's something going on here late in this year with just how they want to run the offense and kind of not necessarily run it through James Cook, but definitely center a lot of it around James Cook. He's been over 10 carries 3 of the last 6 weeks. He's been over 19 points 3 of those weeks. So yeah, he's been pretty strong. Yeah. Looking at KTC sitting there, running back 11, right around a 24 late first, just behind Saquon Barkley, Stephon Diggs. It's hard to like be like, yeah, I would give Stephon Diggs straight up for Cook, but I don't know. How do you feel about those values?
I think, Cook is probably valued a little higher than he should be, but I could see it. I could see why. Like it doesn't surprise me one bit. I personally am not going to ship off Stephon Diggs for James Cook or trade off Saquon Barkley for James Cook plus. My concern is future usage from James Cook, just based on historical running back usage for that team. So I don't know.
I think I could move Barkley for Cook plus. Just Barkley's aging out on a really bad team. There's just not much left on the bone there, in my opinion. But thinking about like Rashee Rice straight for James Cook, Rachaad White for straight for James Cook. Those are interesting. Those are interesting ones. I might take Rashee Rice and then I might take Cook over Rachaad White. But it's definitely close with those guys. I'm not, man, I don't think that he can stay in the top 12 with the incoming running backs, next year and some guys getting healthy. Some guys will fall off, but it's hard for me to see him being a top 12 running back consistently going forward.
All right. Do we, or you specifically, do you believe in AOC?
Me? Yeah. You believe in AOC?
No, I don't, but.
Yeah, I don't think I believe in him. No, I don't think I believe in him, but he's definitely better than I could see him starting, but I don't think he's like ever elevating a team or anything like that. He's a good game manager. You can see that with kind of how they've asked him to play. He's had some tough games, but I think for a rookie, he's actually looked pretty solid in a pretty tough situation for the Raiders. So, if they just like couldn't get in the QB hunt or whatever, I could definitely see him kind of starting the season next season kind of thing.
Sure.
So, yeah, I guess I believe in AOC just as like a very back end kind of quarterback who will eventually be a backup. But I do think that he has some potential to play in the league here and there. Just one of those guys I think you want to have on your roster, but like not as a starter, if that makes sense.
All right. Tyreek Hill. So you're saying here his value is lower than it should be due to the injury enhancing it. Should we be buying Tyreek for 2024?
Yeah, this is a taken development I've had. Like, I just think that Reek's value has been substantially lower than it should be. It's definitely, taken a hit due to that comment about him retiring at the end of this contract. And that's just not super important to me because the end of his contract at the time was 3 years away, now 2 years away. And then he gets this ankle injury, which, again, in the playoffs is going to carry a little bit of stigma with it, along with, you thinking already about this is an asset who may die on my roster or is going to retire soon. So I'm just wondering if maybe there's some opportunity to buy Tyreek Hill for 2024, who should be very similar to the dynasty asset, fantasy producer that he was this year. I don't see really why that would change going into next year.
Yeah. I agree with most of that. I think he had like his 10th kid recently, so he can't really afford to retire anytime soon. But also I think his dynasty value, it's probably the same as it was 3 months ago, right? Probably pretty close. I mean,
he's sitting at wide receiver 7.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a huge discount there, but like having Reek on your team is important. And if you could get it for like a mid first or whatever early first, then yeah, you probably want him on your team.
Yeah, as a contender for sure. I think if you have an expendable first that's not in the top like 4 or 5 picks, like I'm probably sending that for Reek.
Yeah.
And you could probably even wait until the rookie draft. Like you can play the long game with this and go get him then. His value is unlikely to increase too much as an aging player. Those kind of things. I don't think Hill's value is going to increase from here, especially with like once Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in, you're like, all right, well, slot him right above.
Yes.
But yeah, I like that. I think for like a mid first, you could definitely do that. There's probably some other opportunity. I wonder if you could trade like, I don't know, Devon Achane and something for him.
Oh,
people with the youth movement on the running back, I don't know, just those kind of things.
All right, Debo versus Ayuk.
Debo's been an absolute monster.
Yes,
he's been an absolute monster, and it really seemed, over their careers, I actually pulled the splits, and over Ayuk's career, 12.9 PPR points when he's playing with Ayuk versus 14.9 PPR points without Debo. That was with Debo and without Debo. So 12.9 with Debo, 14.9 without over the career. But then I pulled it for just this year, and Ayuk happens to, it was just 2 games, so it's a very small sample, but he happens to have more points with Ayuk, with Debo in the lineup, and that just may be a product of it being, a larger sample with him in the lineup. There's only a couple of games Debo missed this year. But I just think it's interesting seeing how productive Debo has been. Kind of, I think we discredited Debo a lot in the offseason, and really tried to put Ayuk on a pedestal. And they've both been really good, but I'm just wondering kind of where we're at on the value. Debo right now, 12th overall in fantasy points, and then Brandon Ayuk 16th. So, just behind him, and also Debo 17.6 points per game and 15.5 for Brandon Ayuk. So Debo's been the more productive player once again. Is this an indictment on Brandon Ayuk? That's, I guess, kind of the question.
No, I mean, Ayuk's a good player. I mean, it's the whole system is just fabulous for us fantasy players. I think as far as trading goes, like, I highly doubt there's too many Debo owners out there that will trade you Debo for Ayuk straight up. And I really doubt there's too many Ayuk owners out there that would trade you Ayuk for Debo straight up. Like, they're kind of the same to me. I prefer Debo slightly over Ayuk just because he has different opportunities that arise out of the backfield and such that Ayuk doesn't really have. But as far as value goes, if you were to see him traded, like, you would imagine, or at least I would imagine, that they are very similarly valued in the Dynasty community.
Yeah,
at least that's what I would expect.
It's actually vastly different. Brandon Ayuk is wide receiver 12 at like 32nd overall, and Debo's like 53rd overall, and I think that's wide receiver 21. So,
well, then there you go. Go trade your Ayuk and get Debo plus.
Yeah, like I mean, obviously you have there's a lot more years left on the Ayuk side. You know what I mean? Like Debo's definitely approaching the older age, but yeah, man, I think if we're playing in like 2 to 3 year windows, Debo might not be on this team next year. That is the only issue. Like, what if Debo's not on the 49ers next year? How do you feel about that?
Not good.
Yeah, so I think that you risk.
I didn't think about his contract, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be hard to keep everybody in town. I'm pretty sure that he actually is a free agent next year. I'm checking that right now. Not a free agent. No, it'd be pretty tough to get out of him. I mean, yeah, actually, I don't know if that's going to happen. So they could trade him, or I don't know. That's going to be an interesting situation to see what happens there, because he's still under contract through 25 and is a pretty substantial contract as well. So
there's absolutely no reason that he would need to.
Yeah, maybe you do trade Ayuk for Debo plus, and if you can get like a second on top of that, it might be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. T-Law versus Purdy.
I was talking about this in the Discord. because I have a T-Law share where he's injured right now, and I was considering maybe trading for like Purdy plus if that was possible, but Purdy's been on such a tear. I don't know if anybody's trading Purdy plus for T-Law. So now I'm just kind of asking T-Law or Purdy, like, who would you rather have in Dynasty?
So what you need to do is find a Purdy owner who feels about him the way I do, because I would take T-Law over Purdy.
Okay.
And right or wrong, and I've been wrong on a lot of players a lot of different times. But, and I know it probably sounds super foolish, but like, I don't know about Purdy, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about his game that I'm still just not quite buying into. And I know it sounds super silly because they're probably going to go to the Super Bowl, probably heads on favorites to win the damn thing. But I don't think I don't know.
He might be the MVP this year.
But yeah, I know
know.
this. And I'm still like, yeah, I think I'd take Trevor Lawrence over that.
Trevor Lawrence is sitting at QB9 on KTC, and Brock Purdy's QB11. So
okay. Yeah, so there's people out there like me still.
Yeah, I mean, the community agrees with you technically. So yeah, it's just, I think I don't know, I just feel like it just feels like Trevor Lawrence has more security because of who
Draft
he
capital.
is in the pick that he was. But I don't really know if that's true. So I do think that they are pretty close in terms of value on KTC. So I do think that if you can get Purdy plus, I think I'd do that. Like if I can get like Purdy in a third or a second, like I might just swing it, and I think you're going to get similar points per game. And I don't see why they're going to move on from Purdy for any reason. He's super cheap, and the team's going to be very similar, as we were just talking about with Debo. Like they should be able to keep a lot of these weapons around him. So
yeah.
It's hard for me to like, I'm like you, I want to be like Brock Purdy, this guy, but I think it's real. I think what we're seeing from him is pretty legit. Like he, not only is he doing it prior to, but he's doing it after he had the essentially Tommy John surgery on his elbow and came back fairly early from it, where we thought this guy was never going to be the same. So, we kind of just throw that to the wind, like that never happened, but that happened. And, we discounted him then, and we're going to keep doing it, I guess. But yeah,
it's 100% of me holding on to my prayers about Purdy, where he was drafted and the talent or draft capital in front of him, etc., the scheme that he's on and all these other things. And I just have not been able to let myself embrace Purdy.
Now I'm thinking about like I was gonna, because I'm starting Minshew in that league, and I'm like, whatever, I'll just ride it out and see what happens. But I was gonna, because I know they have a tough matchup. Maybe he has a down week. I was gonna see if I can try to get better value on him going forward. But I'm wondering if like I don't want to wait and maybe he like absolutely pops and that backfires. Like I just wonder if maybe just making the move and seeing if I can get plus, and if I can, just doing it and calling it a day would be the right move. So it's I'm leaning more towards that the more we talk about it.
We talked about this a little bit, but backup quarterbacks, do they matter?
Yeah, they absolutely matter. I mean,
apparently,
I forgot I put it on here. Yeah, they absolutely matter.
No, we did the whole exercise about value over replacement and how your quarterback 3 doesn't matter. Well, this year,
that's assuming you have healthy players at the other positions.
Assuming everyone's healthy, no, your quarterback 3 does not matter. But this year, they're not healthy, so they do matter. I don't got much more to say, but like, I wish I had gone after some of those waiver wire quarterbacks a little bit harder. Just even if it's going to get me another third or something for the rookie draft going forward.
Absolutely. Right on board with you, man.
Davis Allen. Who?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this was the kid who
honestly, who?
No, this is the tight end for the Rams. When Tyler Higbee was out, he had a really good week. He had a touchdown. I think he had like 6 targets, right? I mean, Tyler Higbee's not long for the NFL, let alone I feel like the Rams, he's like 30-something. I mean, tight ends can play long, but it just feels like at some point there's going to need to be a change of guard at that position for the Rams. And I like what I saw from Davis Allen. He's a guy who you could probably get off waivers for absolutely nothing and just stash him. I just think we learned he's a guy. He's a guy who might be something. So just, check him out. If you have a roster spot, pick him up, throw him on there and see what happens.
Just like that Cincinnati tight end that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Tanner Hudson, yes. But but Tanner Hudson
It's not
has played
young.
like 10. He's played like 10 years longer than Davis Allen. Davis Allen's a rookie. He just got in the league, so a lot more upside, I think, with Allen. But he did come back to earth with Higbee in the lineup, like just absolutely irrelevant. Still, these are the guys who you completely forget about. 25, 30-man rosters who, there's nobody left on the waivers. These are kind of the guys you're looking at acquiring. So just somebody to keep on the radar.
All right, more QJ bad news. Like,
I got you. I forgot to actually post the tweet, but I do have it right here in my notes.
I was just going to say the good news is that they fired Brandon Staley. They fired the GM.
Yes.
They promoted Giff Smith. Very, very good collegiate record. Never really been an assistant, always been a head coach of some sort of line. So they kept Kellen Moore, which I'm still holding on to that. So that's good news for QJ. What's the bad news?
All right, I'm actually going to post it in the sheet for you so you can pull it up yourself if you want, but I'll talk it out here in a second. Let's see, QJ bad news.
Actually, just give me a second real quick.
Yeah, do your thing. Okay. Yeah, my tight end knowledge is absolutely super deep. I mean, I was talking about Will Mallory, rookie prospect season, who absolutely nobody knew about. Shout out Will Mallory. Dad was a coach for the Denver Broncos. All right, so I'm going to spew out some stats here about Quentin Johnson real quick. If I can pull up the tweet. All right, Quentin Johnson and Jonathan Mingo are averaging less than 1 yard per route run as rookies. The only other round 1, 2 rookie wide receivers who have failed to top 1 yard per route run since 2015 is an absolutely awful looking list. Yes. Former Hurricane Will Mallory. Yes. Not a U fan. Go Knowles, but yes. Shout out Will Mallory. Sorry, I was just spewing some tight end knowledge and then going through the stats here. Right. If you want to pull up the tweet I just posted there, but Quentin Johnson and Jonathan Mingo are both averaging less than 1.0 yards per route run as rookies. The only other round 1-2 rookie wide receivers who have failed to top 1.0 yards per route run since 2015 is an abysmal list of Terrace Marshall, N'Keal Harry, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, DJ Chark, James Washington, Curtis Samuel, Mike Williams. That's the one right there you want to be. Zay Jones, John Ross, Laquan Treadwell, Nelson Aguilar, and Devin Smith. That's not a list you want to be a part of.
Burn it down. Burn it all down.
Burn it all down.
Sucks.
Puka Tutty.
Yeah. And, Olave started this game with like back-to-back catches or at least 2 catches early on. So welcome back, Olave. QJ, that sucks. I know this is kind of disingenuous because of how much I've talked about how much I do like him, and I still do. There's really nothing about him that I didn't like. But at least I'm not holding the bag. I don't have any shares. So there's that.
Hey, we've talked enough about adjusting, and I think we've both practiced what we preach in that regard this season. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that for anybody kind of holding on to hope. It's just getting really, really tough to hang on. I mean, you're hanging on for dear life. Pinky is the only thing left. That's it, and you're about to slip. So, you better grab onto the life vest somewhere and get rid of QJ because it is looking bad. Okay, real quick. Jake asked me, what was his name? Dontavian Wicks. Is that his name?
Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah. Dontavian Wicks advanced data. He just asked me he hit me up on the side. And was like, you got any advanced data on Wicks? And I was like, you know what? Let me go check this out. And I thought it was kind of interesting that for the last 3 weeks, right? Week 13 through 15, Devonta Wicks is 12th in receiving grade for PFF.
Yeah.
He's like I think he's 17th in offensive grade. Where is he in here? 8th in offensive grade.
Yeah.
And then in terms of yards per route run over that time, 21st with 2.19. 2.19 yards per hour run in those 3 weeks. So, I mean, you look at any of these wide receivers above him or in or around him, it's really good company. It's just the wide receiver room there is so deep. It's, Christian Watson, who's not playing. It's Jaden Reed, who's probably not playing this week as well. And then you have Romeo Doubs, and then you have Wicks. So it's just like I'm trying to figure out a way to make it work in my head where he's like an asset you can utilize. But I almost think it's a pipe dream. I almost think he's like, yeah, in the playoffs here, if you have him and you need him, he can probably get you by. But I think he might be worth selling at some point. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Thing is, I have that same feeling about every single one of those wide receivers. Look, I'm sure this is true. I don't have the exact numbers for you guys because I don't have time to do it, but I believe they have like one of the youngest teams in the NFL, and that wide receiver room, it's got to be like averaging like age 21, 22. They're all young. So from like a front office standpoint, drafting another wide receiver is not necessarily, I think, something they need to do. What they need to do is figure out who the hell is the core. One of them in 2 wide receiver sets, one of them in 3 wide receiver sets. Like, who's going to be my guys? Because Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks, they all have potential to be good wide receivers in this league. Is there a true wide receiver 1? I don't know, but you don't even really need that on a team like necessarily. But what they need to do is figure out what personnel works best for this team. But yeah, you should probably be trying to sell them all.
No,
I don't know. They got to figure it out. That's a team thing that they need to figure out.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Wicks has been one of the more impressive receivers in the last couple of weeks. I know Reed's been banged up, but man, I don't know. Just looking at what Wicks is doing, and again, they're all young, like you said, so nobody has a really locked in, solidified position. Anybody can kind of make the case for themselves here over the next year. I mean, look, I guess if you wait till the offseason, Wicks might be a buy. He might be the cheapest of the bunch, and you might be able to snag a decent piece, on a roster that has to throw the ball a lot. So, yeah, it's an interesting piece that the data is definitely pointing to him. I don't know if it's, super sustainable, but it's there.
All right. The last one here is Tucker Kraft for real.
Jake is not the DU side piece, all right? He's one of us. Right?
He's one of us.
He's one of us.
Everybody welcome.
Sorry to jump on you there,
but yeah, Tucker Kraft. Yeah, he could be for real. It's possible. But we just got done talking about what 5 different wide receivers on that team. So now we're gonna throw in a tight end and try to figure that out. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's like
not something I want to get involved in right now.
Like, I don't even want to have this discussion right now. It's not worth it.
I don't know.
I mean, he's been pretty good, no? Like, Kraft is, I mean, he like past 2 games, 4 targets. He went 4 for 4, 64, and then 4 for 6, 57 and a touchdown. He's definitely coming on. He's going to probably beat on the Carolina Panthers this week a little bit. Luke Musgrave's there when he comes back. Is it going to be all Tucker Kraft? I kind of doubt it. I feel like they're probably going to use both of them. So, yeah, I don't know if it's real. I'm kind of with your eye. This is something I don't really want to even have to deal with. So I think there's other options out there. There's better options out there.
I just don't have the space in my head to be worrying about that particular situation right now.
Like, if you could sell Tucker Kraft for 2/3, would you do it?
Yeah.
I'd definitely sell him for any second, like a late second, I do it.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, speaking of,
let's talk about the tight end landscape.
Yeah. So I had a couple of us perform a little exercise here. Uriah, Jake, and myself ranked our top 12. A piece of hair in my mouth. Hello. Ranked our top 12 tight ends each, and then I kind of just pulled out the average. Some of them weren't included. Like, some of us had a tight end on our list that the other one didn't. So the average will be a little wonky because of that, but I think it still serves our purpose and kind of just seeing how we all fall here in terms of the tight ends and kind of giving us a mini ranking list as we head out of 2023 into 2024, right? Thinking about kind of next year and what we would do with the tight end landscape, as it's really changed a lot. Like, going into this year,
Yeah.
you're like locked in. Travis Kelce, tight end 1, Mark Andrews, tight end 2, George Kittle or TJ Hawkinson, tight end 3. And we don't know. But now, I mean, I think we know some stuff. So
yeah,
I'm going to run.
It's exciting for us as fantasy managers. Like we've been stuck with, if you don't have the top 3 tight ends, don't even care. But now this year, it seems like they've been reinvigorated, right? We've taken our tight ends out of the garden. We've moved them, like now they're part of the group, and it's kind of a little more close now. And I believe that tight end rankings will be a lot. They won't all be the same anymore. You know what I mean? It was pretty easy to rank tight ends last year. This year, it's a little bit harder.
Much more challenging right now, for sure. I agree with that. I also think it's gotten a little sexier. I also think that anybody who is calling for just remove the tight end position before the season probably isn't really that disappointed in the tight end position at the end of the season here, right? Yeah. So, these things happen in cycles. It's funny. I actually did a video. We talked about it on here a little bit. I did a video for the Dynasty Football Factory YouTube channel in the off season where I was talking about the dynasty landscape in general and talking about positional transition periods, kind of identifying those, being able to look ahead and say, notice the quarterback transition period that happened with Tom Brady and everybody who kind of retired in and around that time and saw, the Joe Burrows and all those kind of take over. We saw that happen. If you could identify that, you get ahead of it. And I would talk to a lot about on there. It looks like we might have a tight end transition period happening right in front of our eyes. I didn't take my own advice. I didn't buy into the class, but I did kind of see it happening. And I actually just wrote an article for Dynasty Football Factory as well, talking about what went wrong. And that was one of the things I identified where I just didn't kind of trust myself, trust my process, and, believe in what I identified and actually take some shots on those guys who I thought could start to alter the shape of the tight end landscape. So we've seen that happen. I'm going to run through the list here that we have in the order of, the average between us 3. And we can talk a little bit about it. So we have Mark Andrews at tight end 1 overall. All 3 of us had him at 1. No questions there, which I thought was actually pretty interesting. I did hear some people have Sam Laporta as their tight end 1, which is, reasonable for sure. Sam Laporta comes in at 2. We had him similarly. Jake had him at 4. We both had him at 2. So he sits there. Thought that was interesting. So we'll talk about the specifics in a second. So we have Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, TJ Hawkinson at 4, Travis Kelce at 5, George Kittle at 6, Dalton Kincaid at 7, David Njoku at 8, Evan Ingram at 9, Kyle Pitts 10, Dallas Goedert 11, Michael Mayer 12. And we have some honorable mentions in here, Cole Kmet and Jake Ferguson. So again, because, some of us had a tight end that wasn't in the other list, we have more than 13 that averaged out here, which is not a problem. I think it's interesting to kind of have these discussions and see kind of those differences at the bottom end and at the top. So one of the biggest differences on this list, I think, for the 3 of us was that David Njoku fell into the top 12 for both Uriah and myself, 7th for Uriah, 9th for me, not even on Jake's top 12. So we did ask him to give us, some reasoning behind that since he wasn't going to be on this show today, because I did think it was interesting that that it didn't that he didn't make his list. So let me see what he said. So overall, David Njoku run blocking grades are low, which is why we always have seen good influx of Harrison Bryant using the team. Think if Cleveland can figure out a true second target in the team that isn't Elijah Moore, and Njoku's production would drop significantly. We also saw his relationship with their franchise quarterback is rather poor. He's been mostly productive with DTR Walker and Flacco this season and last season. It's more of a gut feeling thing, but his long-term contract doesn't bode well for me as it keeps him in Cleveland longer with Watson. I think there's some reasonable takes in there. I think the only one that
Jake just always doing that all the time.
Reasonable. I think the only one I struggle with is if they can find a stable number 2 target. Like where's that going to come from? And I think, they kind of have some love for Elijah Moore there. They're probably not going to just kick him out the door. I don't know. It's hard for me to see them finding a much more stable second option than Elijah Moore. That not much more stable. I just don't see where they're going to get the better option from. Maybe they completely retool there. But David Njoku, seeing what he's done now, for them to not kind of force Watson to make him a focal point, to maybe scheme him up more, it would just shock me if they don't do that going into next year. So that's why I think you and I kind of have him in our top 12. He's young enough, I think 27, 28 years old, where he has some years ahead of him.
Yeah. I'll be brief, but like they gave him the contract 2 years ago. He worked his butt off. Like there's so many times where Njoku was active on the field or on the bench more than anything, blocking more than he probably should when he's so physically talented. But they finally unlocked him last year. They gave him a contract. What I think here is probably what Jake is speaking on is like it comes down to the quarterback. We haven't seen a stable quarterback for this kid all year last year. So once we can see Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, David Njoku with a quarterback for more than, like, I don't know, an eight game period, 8 game stretch, we could have a better idea. But for now, just seeing what he's been able to do and the commitment that team made to David Njoku is why he's definitely in my top 12.
Awesome. Okay, so I love that Mark Andrews is 1 for all 3 of us. Then Trey McBride is 3 for all 3 of us. Love that. Just slot him right in there. I do think this one's just a little, we can briefly just hit on it, but Jake has Hawkinson as tight end 2.
That's okay.
And so Sam Laporta is tight end 4. I don't know. Like, I think Hawkinson has benefited a little bit from some injuries this year, from Addison being a rookie. I think he's still a lower kind of A-dot guy. He's a lower yards after catch guy. And I see so much more upside with Laporta and obviously McBride. So that's why I kind of think I have Laporta over Hawkinson. Hawkinson's still plenty young, but you just get all the years back with Laporta. And yeah, it's just hard for me to kind of make a case for Hawkinson in my head.
I'm pretty much there with you. It's basically talking about when we had Coupe Fiasco on here, talking about the tight ends you want being like the second target on the team. And you look at Laporta and you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, then you kind of have Laporta, right? There's really not a whole lot else there. Where with Hawkinson, you do have Addison, you have JJ. So we're splitting hairs here, but like I think our top 5 is really, really hard to argue against.
2, 3, 4. Travis Kelce at 5. Do you think there's an argument that could be made to push Kittle and Kincaid over Kelce? I mean, Kittle definitely a couple of years younger. I mean, 30 to 34. I mean,
age.
I think we could push Kittle over. I think we could potentially push Kittle over. I mean, both of us have actually, both of us do have Kittle over him.
Yeah, by 1 spot. Yeah,
by 1 spot. So technically, okay, that's why, because he has Kittle at 7, so I pushed him down a little bit more. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, so I could see that as well. He still believes in Kelce a good deal. That's fine. I don't really love Kincaid still, but I can see an argument being made for it. But I don't think he's utilized. I've said it already. I just don't think he's utilized the way that these elite tight ends are. Not even utilized. I don't think he offers the yak ability that these other tight ends offer. I don't think he's that dynamic of a player. But he's definitely a good receiver, so he's up in there for us. I think the last we want to mention here are a couple guys at the end who did and didn't make our lists, right? So I think I want to mention Michael Mayer. Both made mine and Jake's list at 12 for me and 10 for him, which 10 is pretty spicy, to be honest. But I do love me with some Michael Mayer, so I'm not going to argue with Jake right now on that one. I guess I should ask you why he just kind of was left off your list.
Honestly, looking at this, I might have overranked Kincaid too, but Mayer, I like the prospect. I just don't think he's a top 12 tight end right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I honestly do think that. I mean, both me and Jake left out Jake Ferguson, and I kind of think it might be fair to maybe elevate Ferguson over Mayer as the number 12 guy. Second-year player, has shown a little bit more on a better team. There's a lot of arguments for that one. for sure. And the last one for me would be Cole Kmet, who was left off both our lists and made Jake's list.
Yeah, that's smart.
I mean, Cole Kmet's fine for sure. I just inconsistent, and the QB is kind of up in the air. You know, obviously they could get Caleb Williams, or they could do whatever they want. Can they? Yeah, they could probably swing something like that. They could definitely swing a different quarterback next year. So I don't know. I think that if I had to be honest and I was like critiquing this, I would probably say that we need to drop Kmet and Mayer out and add Ferguson in as our 12th guy for Jake and I. If we're being honest right now today, but projecting forward, I do think I like Mayer's skill set more. It's just, can the team get right? Which, you know, with as much time as both of these guys have, probably could get right. So that could alter going forward for sure. That could definitely change.
Yeah. Just one thing. I mean, I have Kincaid as 8 here. Honestly, seeing Kmet not make my list kind of doesn't sit right with me. If I had to redo this, I'd probably find a way to put Kmet in the top 12 and Kincaid probably just outside. But
I mean, we're giving Kyle Pitts like this major pass here. He's sitting at 9, 10, 11 for, you know, each of us respectively.
Yeah,
like he might deserve to move down and move some of these guys up a little bit. Now out of the top 12, I don't know, more towards 12 than 9, 10, you know, maybe so. That's where I'm an 11. So yeah, there's that back end. I mean, and even Dallas Goedert, who is definitely a really good tight end, but he's inconsistent and very, you know, it's very dependent on what the volume's like on that team on the given day. And kind of the scheme. So I could also see, you know, a Mayer, Ferguson, those guys jumping over a Goddard as well, who's 28 years old. He's not young. Like he's as old as almost any of these other tight ends we're talking about.
All right, let's just hit on these real quick before we get to trades. So you think Michael Mayer moves up in 24?
I do. I think in 2024 he is going to move up. I think we're going to see more consistency, and I think we're going to see him be more of not a you know, run through him type of focal point, but a focal point of the offense, along with, you know, maybe a Devonta Adams.
Okay. Travis Kelce, where's he ranked at 24?
Man, I mean, I think we're trying to do that here with this list. I think tight end, you know, I think tight end 5 or 6 is pretty reasonable. It could get worse than that. But I think 6 is probably right, where he's just above like the Kincaid and Njoku guys, because he's still with Mahomes, still just an absolute elite offensive weapon, elite fantasy producer, but, you know, just 35 years old.
We're gonna have to dig into Kincaid a little bit to sell me on him a little bit more. Jake Ferguson outside the top 12.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. I don't think so. I think we're wrong on that. I think he's going to be inside the top 12.
And can Tucker Kraft make a case?
Can he get himself up there, you think?
It's possible. We have to, again, like we were saying with Musgrave.
Yeah.
And Kraft and Dobbs and Wicks and Jaden Reed and Christian Watson. We just have to see how this plays out. Again, I think it's just once the front office figures out what they want to do there, the coaching staff, and how like the actual personnel package is going to be, because it's just been a hodgepodge of players and they've all done stuff when given a chance, but there hasn't been like a set like offensive lineup really for these guys for like a long time. So it's really hard to tell. Do they prefer Musgrave? Like we had the preseason and Musgrave was in there with 100% of the snaps with the starters. We saw throughout the preseason. Musgrave was heavily involved in that. And we see Tucker Kraft having a pretty good couple weeks with Musgrave not playing. It's hard to say once he comes back. Like, what are we looking at? Is Christian Watson healthy? Then what are we looking at? Jaden Reed coming back and being 100% healthy. What are we looking at? Is Wicks even playing that many snaps? Like, it's just so many unknowns there right now. It's really hard to make a bet one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree with that.
My 2 cents.
No, I mean, I agree. I think that is a really tough one to read. You know, it's just like, obviously Tucker Kraft is younger and whatever, but the Trey McBride rise has to make you kind of look at tight ends in general differently, as far as, you know, can they grow? to a point. Now, Trey McBride was a very, very strong prospect. Okay, that guy coming out, he was pretty much the best tight end in his class, and then we just had to wait. So Tucker Kraft is not Trey McBride. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying, you're trying to project some of these guys who are going to take that leap. I mean, it's not always the one who you expect. So it's just trying to keep some of these guys on your radar and maybe trying to roster some of them, whatever it is, trying to kind of expose yourself to a wider variety of tight ends.
I think Mayer has a really good chance to do that.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
All right. Let's hit on some trades and non-trades.
Let's do it.
That was fun. So this week, actually last week, I was trying to trade Taysom Hill and Zeke and like as a package deal to contenders, right? Ramondre Stevenson's down. Taysom Hill's scoring points at the tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get him off my thing. I'll sell him to you for cheap. Had a deal kind of into talks with another guy, and he said, I don't really need him this week. Turns out he did need him this week because he got eliminated that week. But I didn't know he got eliminated, and I ended up selling him Taysom the next week for third. So Taysom Hill for a third.
Yeah, I
feels pretty
dig
good,
it.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Just to get him off, like
you're never gonna get more than that for him. Like even if he has a 20-point game, nobody's giving you a second-round pick for Taysom Hill. So I think you're rebuilding. You don't need those points. At some point, Taysom Hill will be done and will not be scoring those points any longer. It may be when he's 40, maybe 8 years from now. I don't know, but at some point, that guy's going to stop scoring fantasy points.
It's hard to rule him out, right?
Yeah, and again, you're not going to get more value than this. So I do like a third, no matter what it is for Taysom Hill. I like that.
Cool. That's all I have.
All right, this one is. I really feel like context matters so much, but I'll just say it. I received an offer Cooper Kupp for my 24 first and a 24 second that was not mine that I know is going to be fairly early. But my pick, I'm in the semifinal, so it's probably going to be what is going to be like a top 10 pick or whatever, or a bottom 3 or 4 pick rather, I should say. So
later.
Yeah, 110 or later, right? That's what I was trying to get at, but I can't speak. So I received this offer and I immediately declined it. I have Puka Nacua on my team already. I really don't think my chances of making it through the matchup are that good with or without a Cooper Kupp on my team. And giving up those picks just seems like the wrong move if that's the case, right? If I give up those picks and I lose the matchup, I set myself back a pretty good deal, I think, in terms of trying to retool my roster to have a little bit more depth for the future and even more elite assets that I can, make trades with or maneuver, and do what I need to with in building my team. So I don't know, like on the face of it, I think everybody in the Discord was like, go the Cup side if you're contending, but I don't think that that's the move in this specific context. You really kind of got to read the room, be honest with yourself about your team, make sure that you're not going to regret the move you're about to make. And last thing I'll say is adding a player like Kupp will only increase your percentage chance of winning by like 5 or 10% at most. So it just doesn't seem like a good bet to make. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I do in that situation, just because it's either it works this week or it doesn't, and then you're shitting on yourself for the next whatever, and you're sitting there in the rookie draft wishing you had those picks. The one thing I'd look at is just like, who am I starting? Who would I be pulling off of my starting roster to put a Kupp? And then, what kind of points difference is that really going to make? And if it's not going to be something like dramatic, like if it's not like a average of, 8-point type player over Cooper Kupp, I don't know, 15 or 16, is that really going to make the difference? If not, then you're probably going to want those picks. So at this late in the game, this is not something I'd do. I'd probably just hold on to what got you there and see what happens. The ball bounces funny. It's not round. And at the end of the day, you'll still have your first and your second to retool and replenish. I would have done what you did.
Yeah, like I'm playing with house money here. I didn't really think I'd even get to this point. This is Console Wars. I really didn't think I'd make the semis in this league. Again, I had a pretty rough start to it. So
I didn't either.
yeah, I think thanks for
I was like, what? Billy's in the fucking playoffs? What are you
the vote of confidence? Yeah, bro. Come on, man. That retool I did was pretty gnarly. I can't believe I'm here. It was the CD trade. It was Dak and CD. Oh yeah, and Ayuk helped a little bit for sure. But hey, listen, you can take solace knowing that your team has helped me. Okay, the Cowboys have helped me. Exactly. There you go. I got you. Okay, this next one I actually sent this one out. Semifinals again. This is Dynasty Underdog Listener League. I think it's DU2. I sent Barkley plus a mid first for CMC.
Oh.
It didn't happen. Nothing happened. I think it's just sitting there in the manager's inbox per every other trade in DU2.
You're trying to get CMC.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get that done, I'd like that for you. I doubt you will, though.
yeah, especially in DU2, man, where they hold every player close to the vest. Yeah, no, I know it's going to be a tough one. We got to make that
like a guillotine or what is that? Like, the last place is out of the league.
Yeah. What is it called? It's escaping me. It's not guillotine.
Vampire. No.
No, oh my God, I don't know why. It might be guillotine. Maybe I'm wrong. It might be guillotine. But Barkley
actually have any leagues. We got to get some new managers in there.
Yeah, Jesus. I actually think Barkley in a mid first is probably fair for CMC. Like it's not. It's definitely not like low ball or anything, but I would prefer CMC for sure. Obviously, I'm trying to go get him. So, I want to know what your thoughts on this are. I'm not even going to give you my thoughts on this. I received this offer. It was my Jamar Chase, and a Devy fourth. And these Devy fourths are pretty valuable. Just you're allowed to pick anything you want. So, definitely pretty valuable. So Jamar Chase and the Devy fourth for T. Higgins, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Warren, Antonio Gibson, and Josh Downs. Uriah's just digesting it all. Don't worry. It's a lot.
I hate these trades because it's a lot. But
I know.
I mean, you could be adding a starter at nearly every position on your team and trade away Chase. I like Downs. Gibson, I don't really like. Warren could be a thing. Goddard is nice to have in your tight end position, and Higgins is good. You have a wide receiver 2. You have a top 10 tight end. You have a top, 2016 running back and a young wide receiver for God damn. No, I still keep Chase.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's interesting. That's interesting because you could actually send Chase away and try to forget about it. Maybe have a beer. And then when you're putting in your roster the next week, you have a bunch of new pieces that are all startable. They're all startable. They're all startable pieces, which is kind of the allure to me.
Yeah, I think the team that I lost Chase on here, I'm in the semis and I still am projected to win the game. And I just the package doesn't really do that much for me. It's a lot of pieces like Downs, Gibson, and Warren. Yes, they could be things, but they also could just be nothing. So, I already talked about Goddard, who I think, already a back end top 10, 12 tight end. I think I have him at 10 or 11. Let me look. No, yeah, 10. So I think then I was saying just towards the end of that conversation, I think he could potentially fall out of the top 12, with the right things happening for some of these other guys, Jake Ferguson, Mayer, some of those other guys at the back end. I don't love it. I want to keep
Chase
the elite
is just
asset.
Too good. I think you just got to keep Chase.
I want to keep the elite asset. That's what I want to do. And honestly, I know it sounds stupid, but when I saw the offer, I don't know what this is in reference to, but I love it. Oh my God. What band is that? That's a Creed. Yeah.
Come on. Hip hop head here. Don't ask me.
Let's go. Okay. That's hilarious. I thought this was a lowball offer when I received it. I was like, fuck you. And I immediately declined it. So that's what I thought of it. I think it's more fair. But yeah,
it is. I would have thought about it longer than you, I think.
Hey, our boy Dre, hell yeah! First time tapping in live on YouTube. Keep joining us, brother. We're here every week, and I'm hoping this offseason to drop a little bit more content. So hopefully there's more for you. All right, we got one more here. Last one. This happened in our listener league, our third one, Dynasty Underdog Listener League 3. I'm in the semifinals, and I lost Keenan Allen, and Marquise Brown wasn't going to play. And I was like, you know what? Like, we talked about James Cook. We talked about how I think he's going to continue on the path that he's been on the rest of this year. And so I'm making a move that is a little bit short-sighted, but, you know, kind of hedging my bets a little bit too on James Cook, maybe that he's a little bit better of a dynasty asset, a little bit more stable of a dynasty asset than I actually think he is. You know what I mean? Maybe carries a little bit more, you know, running back 2 type production going forward, where I think it's more flex type production. But right now he's absolutely dominating. So I traded Marquise Brown in the late second, my second. So it's obviously going to be a late second because I'm in the semifinals. Marquise Brown in the late second for James Cook. What do you think?
I don't really want to talk about that league.
I'm so sorry.
I should. I have one of the best teams. I did.
I know.
Oh my god! But I'm out. So no, honestly, I think this is a good move for you. That second's going to be late. Marquise Brown, like, I do like him, but I think for this year, trying to make a playoff push, this is a good piece to go out and get James Cook. Like, and anybody who's not completely convinced on it is probably pretty happy to go out and get Marquise Brown in a second. I think it's a good trade. I think it's a good trade for everyone. And yeah, good luck.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, looks like Cup might have just gotten injured, banged up his shoulder or something like that. So
water's wet, you know.
Glad glad I didn't make that trade for Cup and Console Wars. And I just want to say I appreciate our listeners a ton. I see a bunch of people have been on viewing this episode. So yeah, really appreciate the listeners. Keep joining in and keep tapping into the Discord. Join our Discord. We had some new people hop in there today, and yeah, we're going to keep promoting that stuff. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thanks everyone for giving us a listen tonight. Please follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you prefer, at Dynasty Underdog, at Uriah Dawkins, at Willie Beeman DFF. Join our Discord, as Billy said, and yeah, check us out on YouTube. We look just as good as we sound.
Good luck, AJ. Be easy, fam.
And yeah, good luck in you guys' playoffs. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Take it easy, people.